Welcome everyone to the Conversation with the CPA event presented by CPA BC, the Chartered Professional Accountants of British Columbia. My name is Stephanie Roy and I'm the Manager of Employer Relations at CPA BC. And I'm standing in for my colleague Sharon Hummel, who's the Manager of Student Recruitment at CPA BC. We want to thank you all for joining us here today. My role is employer relations, connecting employers in BC in every industry with CPAs and aspiring CPAs. And my colleague Sharon, the Manager of Student Recruitment and Employer Relations, is here to inform and inspire future CPAs, her and her team. In today's event, we hope to do just that, give you an opportunity to learn about accounting from a real CPA, one of our own, I might add, and to ask your own questions. Before we proceed, we are meeting on a virtual platform today, and I would like to take a moment to acknowledge the importance of the land, which we call home wherever that may be. And I'd like to acknowledge the traditional territories of the Squamish, Musqueam, and Tsleil-Waututh First Nations, on whose traditional territories CPA BC's offices are located. We do this land acknowledgement to reaffirm our commitment and responsibility in improving relationships between nations and improving our own understanding of Indigenous peoples. Please join me in a moment of reflection. Today's session will be 30 minutes, short and sweet. So here is an overview of our agenda. We will be speaking with Robin Wong. He will be sharing his CPA story with us. And then we will have a Q&A session where you can ask your own questions to our speaker. So the first few minutes will be a quick audience polling question and an introduction of our featured CPA member, Robin. And then we will hear from Robin about his own experiences of becoming a CPA and being an accountant and CPA. Afterwards, you will have an opportunity to ask your own questions during the Q&A session. So for those who have submitted questions beforehand, we will have some time for that. And then since we have a short session, if you have any questions related to the CPA program, admissions requirements, and program structure, we do encourage you to attend one of our weekly CPA information sessions following this webinar. And for questions relating to the practical experience requirements for the program, please check out our monthly practical experience requirements Q&A sessions. If you did not already submit a question beforehand, you will still be able to ask your question through the Q&A function, which you will find in the webinar controls bar. As a note, your questions and your name will be shown to all attendees. If you are uncomfortable with having your name shown to other attendees, you will have an option to submit your question anonymously by ticking the Send Anonymously box before submitting your question. Please note that this webinar will be recorded and posted on our past events page on our website. You will also be receiving a link to the recording in a post-event email next week. Without further ado, let's get started. As I did mention earlier, I want to do a quick poll so that we can better understand who we have in our audience today. And answering the poll question is optional. And Jing, if I can get you to help launch that poll, that would be great. Awesome. All right. So our question here is, which of the following best describes your current status? Are you a working professional, recent graduate, current post-secondary student, working professional with international accounting designation? So we'll give you just a little bit more time to fill this out. All right, I'm seeing a big proportion of post-secondary students, so it's great to have you all here. And Jing, I think you can publish the results. There we go. Yes, so 61% of you are post-secondary students. We have some recent graduates, as well as some professionals out in the industry. So thank you, Jing. If you can hide that poll, that's great. And it is my pleasure to now introduce you to our featured guest today. As I said, Robin Wong, CPA CA. I'm going to give a brief introduction of you, Robin. So hang tight, give us a wave, yeah. So while working his way up from co-op student to manager at small to medium-sized public accounting firms in the Greater Toronto area, Robin obtained his CA designation in 2010. His first taste of a career in nonprofits came when Robin ventured to the Far East as a finance and accounting volunteer working with local NGOs in Nepal and Cambodia. Upon returning to Canada, he moved west, working as a financial analyst with the BC Ministry of Health in Victoria. Today, with CPA BC, Robin performs key roles in budgeting and in budget to actual analysis, financial reporting, annual tax return preparation, and not-for-profit accounting. Welcome, Robin. Good to have you here.
Thanks, Stephanie. Good to be here.
So I'm going to kick things off right away with asking you about how you started your career. So if you could, I'll take us to our next slide and I'll get you to kick things off.
Sure. Thanks. Hey, everybody. My career started actually in university because I applied to Brock University in Ontario, just outside Niagara Falls, that offered a bachelor's of accounting degree, so which is quite rare. Usually it's bachelor's of business or commerce with a streamline into accounting. This was a 100% accounting degree geared specifically towards the CA program back in 2004, but graduated in 2008, I think. So this was streamlined straight into the CA program. And I guess my career started at my first work term because it was a co-op program. So I did 4 work terms of 4 months each, so a total of 16 months, and that all contributed towards the experience requirement of the CAA program. And of those 4 work terms, 3 were January, February, March, April, so busy season.
Oh yeah, indeed.
Yeah.
Okay, so you've started touching on your experience, but walk us through your personal experience about going through the program. Was it difficult to study part-time while working?
Yes, so back then the CA program was a bit different, but I think the spirit of going through the process is the same or similar to what it is today. So back then, there was the CKE or core knowledge exam in January. So I graduated in December. So I was studying for my final exams in university, hoping to graduate, and then right away, a professional exam a few weeks later in January. Passing that, that was also when I started working full-time with, as the timeline shows, SF Partnership. I had done all of my work terms with them, and they offered a contract even before I graduated, on condition I graduate. So that's one of the many benefits of doing co-op intern work placements. After that, yes, to answer your question, it was extremely difficult to work full-time and also to be studying on weekends or after work. SF was very good, as many public accounting firms are. They know how important it is that students take time to study properly. So I was given, we were all given study leave of a few weeks before each exam, and congruent to that, the firm paid for the courses that was tuition and refresher courses on accounting theories, concepts, and tax. The next exam was in summer, the School of Accountancy, so I had a few weeks off before that. But to answer the question, throughout the year, you're just studying on weekends. I didn't really have too much of a social life at that time, but
it's going to be my next question.
Yeah, yeah, the social life took a bit of a hit, but I was fortunate enough to pass those 2 exams, and then the third one was the UFI, now known as the CFI, in September. So it was 1 year of not too many friends, more like the textbooks were my friends, but you get to know yourself pretty well, and you get to know your study group very well as you go through the process.
Your study group becomes your social life.
Yes.
Sounds like it's paid off for you, though. And before we get to what you're doing now at CPA BC, do you have anything more to add about what it was like getting your practical experience during that time as well?
Yeah, it was a wild ride looking back, because in the chartered accountant program, you need to have a certain number of hours in taxation and audit and assurance and so forth. So when I was with SF Partnership and even further along my career with Mark Feldstein and Associates, which was a smaller firm, it was only a 10-person office, or excuse me, 6-person office and 1 partner, versus SF Partnership, which was a 100 employee office with 13 partners at the time. You see everything. You get all your tax hours, you get all your audit, you get all your assurance and review hours. Working in small and medium size, where you don't really know what your day is going to be unless you're assigned to a big client. It's a lot more diverse versus what I've been told my friends and colleagues who have worked at big 4 companies, where if you're assigned to an audit division, you'll know audit inside and out. You'll know audit of specific industries inside and out, but you may not know notice to reader, review, inventory count, personal tax, corporate tax, all of that I just mentioned. You'll learn it all in small and medium-sized accounts.
There's certainly some pros and cons to different sizes of organizations. They all offer something a little different. So yeah, and it sounds like you've gotten a little taste of a few different things. So now let's turn our attention to what you're doing now. So you are a colleague of mine working just in another department.
Yep.
So tell me a little bit about what it's like working at CPA as a CPA. What kind of things do you do in your job? Tell us a little bit about your responsibilities above and beyond what I described in the intro there.
Yep. And for people who are in public or still in public or were in public, switching to industry or nonprofit is a very switch of a mindset. Whereas you're not working for multiple clients who have ever-changing needs, you're working for your organization or your company, and the clients are the individual department heads or budget officers or directors that are coming to you still with questions and requests for policy interpretation, tax guidance, accounting guidance, how to treat something, coding. So you're still dealing with emails and with meetings, but not so much as a billable hour, based on billable hours kind of thing. Yes, so what you described is my job in a nutshell. I do a lot of monthly, bi-weekly, quarterly, and of course annually financial reporting and analysis, budget to actual. I helped to review and craft the annual budgets for my internal departments that I've been assigned. I also handle the tax portion of the CPA annual tax corporation tax accounts, filling in the tax returns. We're a nonprofit, so there are a few more hurdles and forms we have to fill out. As well, CPA operates a number of charitable organizations that help our members. So I'm in charge of filling in the year-end working papers and the year-end tax returns for that organization as well. And like you said, the job is more structured. You can kind of tell exactly 1 month, okay, I can know that in the summertime we have to do this, this, and this. Whereas in public accounting, it would be more like it's busy season, it's tax season, we have to do this, this, and this.
So it sounds like we keep you very busy at CPABC, but CPABC is also a very fun place to work. So you mentioned that we're a nonprofit organization. We're actually quite a large nonprofit organization. There's over 100 employees. And in your team, Robin, how many people work in your team in finance and accounting?
In finance and accounting, I believe there's 12 of us permanently, and then we have one intern that we hire on a seasonal basis to help us with our own busy season, which is January to May, I believe. Yeah,
so well, that's great. I actually learned a few things that you do because I don't work on all those things with you. So awesome. So maybe just a few more things for those of you who might be interested in one day working at CPABC. We are a nonprofit, quite a large nonprofit. We have a lot of fun at CPABC as well. Lots of celebrations between staff and things like that. So it's a great place to work. In fact, we were just named a BC Top Employer for the second year in a row. So that was nice. So before we move on to the Q&A, Robin, I'm going to set some things up here, but I'm going to ask you to maybe share some of the things you like and dislike about what you do here. So if you could share a little bit about your favorite things and your least favorite things, and I'll get us set up for the Q&A.
Sure. I do like working at home, but the office culture is what attracts and I think retains a lot of people with CPA BC, especially within the finance and accounting team. There's almost no turnover. So people come here and they stay for like 10 years, some people like 15 years, going back into the legacy, their legacy days. Yeah, I like all the seasonal celebrations we do, like Halloween. There's like, I've never worked at a place that takes Halloween so seriously. And then I miss all the cake, because like every employee basically gets a cake on their birthday. So when I joined a few years ago in May, it was 4 birthdays in 1 month. So it was fantastic. We
do like to celebrate. We also have like cake on a monthly basis usually as well in the kitchen.
Yes.
For all departments to kind of come together and see each other again. So
and when it's ice cream, yeah.
Yes. So good. We have been doing virtual treat Tuesdays, which has been a nice way to keep in touch with people. But yeah.
Not the same. Yeah.
Yeah, not the same. No, I miss seeing you in real life as well.
Mm-hmm.
So are there some things you would caution people about working in a nonprofit organization in finance? You mentioned that it is very predictable in a way, so that can be a good thing. It can also be,
yes.
Create
I was just about to say that. Comparing it to other industries where they say, it's fast paced or dynamic and that sort of thing, it usually comes with high pressure and high expectations and a lot of deliverables that you need to constantly be performing at. With industry in general, it's very much on a routine, regular basis. If it's not month to month, it's quarter to quarter. So from an accounting point of view, it's kind of amazing because you know what journal entries are needed each month, which ones to accrue, which expenses are not going to hit this month because it's not the right quarter. So it's very predictable in a way. And if that can be a double-edged sword where it's predictable and it's just so predictable, and it can go either way. So to the people who are joining us and they're still in university or considering a career as a CPA, definitely look at the team's culture, the organization's culture. I think that's what is going to keep you or drive you out of an industry or a company, basically.
Culture fit. And, another thing, since I work in employer relations, I would just say that paying attention to not only culture fit and the job description itself, but also what are some of the other perks? Like you mentioned, we've got a lot of people who have been with our organization for a very long time. And that's because we have a lot of non-financial benefits and perks that make up a really nice benefits package overall. So that's another thing to keep in mind when you're looking. So I'm going to go straight to our first advanced question submitted from our audience.
Fantastic.
And it kind of falls into that. What are some of the extras of working for an organization? So tell me about the company that you worked for when you were going through the program. How did they support you in studying for the CPA exam? I know you talked a little bit about time off, but were there other things regarding your study group or anything like that you can share with the audience?
Yes. The key takeaways I would say is hopefully you're not the only one going through the program. You have people that are in the same boat as you or at about the same year or same level, and you can form a study group. It's what SF Partnership did really well is that we had people that had passed and became CAs recently. So we got our hands on a few mock exams and we were able to book the boardroom during the middle of the day, recreate the examination experience like like desks, laptops, notebooks, all that sort of thing. And you would write a mock exam for 4 hours, like a mock case. And then these recent grads would, myself included, we would go through the answer key, mark it. A few days later, we would have a debrief as to what you did or did not do well. So having the internal help and from people that had done the program recently, like the year or two before, because if you've done it 10 years ago, it's really hard to get back into that mindset. So having that internal support would be excellent. Study leave would be excellent if the company is willing to pay for the cost of the exam and pay for registering you with tutor service or a group setting at a tutor service, because we went to U of T to do ours. That sort of thing, I would say, is something that you would look for, and you could probably ask this during the interview. If a firm or a company is hiring you, do you have these initiatives inside the company?
That's a very good question to ask in an interview process. In
Mhm.
fact, we've got a bunch of spring recruiting events coming up in a little bit, and I would add that to the list of questions to ask at things like our employer showcase. So that's great to hear. And I've also heard of people who maybe work for smaller organizations that don't necessarily have all of the supports in place, but reaching out to folks in your network who might be recent grads and asking them for any tips and tricks, I think, can be helpful. As you mentioned, they may have some resources they can share. So just because you don't work in a large organization doesn't mean you can't use your network to kind of get those supports built in for yourself as well. Okay, so I'm going to go to one of our next questions here from the audience, which was, what should a person expect after becoming a CPA? It's kind of an open-ended question, so I'll let you take it in the direction you wish.
Yeah, that's a little bit open-ended. The number of finance jobs that you're able to apply for and get taken seriously open up, because a lot of them say requested CPA or 5 years experience or an equivalent. For me, I got headhunted right away because the names of everyone that graduates and passes the exam gets published in local newspapers, in the CPA magazines. Companies will take out ads saying, "Congratulations to all our grads." So they're pretty much giving recruiting firms and headhunters ammunition for people that they want to poach. So at work, people would cold call me and say, like, "Are you happy with your job?" And I had to say, like, "Yeah, call me later." But
nice to have options.
Yeah, very nice to have options. But how does things change? Yeah, I would just say that doors open for you, or doors more easily open for you when you walk into a meeting and you say, "Oh," and that you get introduced as a new grad. Instantly people will take you a little bit more seriously than if you had just been a student, I suppose. But yeah, I would just say that opportunities open up for you.
Yeah, and I can add to that by saying that on the employer side, it is a very good time to be a CPA. And I know it might be a strange time, like with the pandemic, and unemployment was so versatile or up and down this past year. But it really is a good time to be a CPA, and they're very much in high demand right now. So while it was a little uncertain in the summer, the market is back up to where it was before. So I wouldn't be surprised if folks are getting headhunted and now and in the future. Another question we have is about the difference between tax season and non-tax season. So maybe that's about where you decide to work. So you did touch a little bit on that, but is there anything you'd like to add about what it's like working during a busy season for a firm versus working in nonprofit where it's a bit more cyclical and predicted?
Oh, yeah. I worked for a couple years in government, and yeah, their busy season is nothing compared to public accounting. For public, I remember working at 8 a.m. and finishing at 9, 10, 11, 12. My record is 1:30. So it's a lot of work in a short amount of time because you're still trying to get your regular corporate accounts done, plus a million T1s that you're trying to get out the door in time. I would say with with busy season and I guess tax season, I did so many years of it that it kind of is an industry standard, just by the nature that taxes are due April 1st or April 30th. Yeah, a lot of people, no one likes it, let's just say that. But it's just one of those things that it's part of the job, it's part of the industry, and that it's 4 months, and yeah, it's very extremely busy. So if you like high pressure, high demanding expectations, tax season is what it is. If you don't like it, you can do it for a couple years and then decide if you want to stay, because it's part of the job. You have to do it. Otherwise, there's always industry and nonprofit. So there's
Nice.
that.
Well, I'm having a look at some of the questions coming in through our Q&A, but
Sure.
there's
Yep.
a few questions that were submitted ahead of time. So I'm going to ask you a question, and while you're thinking about it, I'm going to answer one of the questions because I've got the answer for this person. So the question from the audience is, what are some of the job requirements you have, or some of the job requirements you've experienced with data analytics software? So is data analytics something that you consider part of your job at CPA-BC? So while you give that some thought, we did also get a question about what websites are good for searching for volunteer opportunities in accounting. And me and my team, we manage the CPA-BC careers site. And I definitely recommend that you go having a look there. There are a lot of nonprofit organizations who are looking for volunteer board members who post their opportunities there on the CPA careers site. So that's a good place for volunteer opportunities. So as far as data analytics software goes, or data analytics, how does that factor into the work you do?
Yeah, definitely. Just to build on your very good response to the question of volunteerism, if anyone is interested in international volunteering, maybe not now, but after pandemic, just Google AFID. That's Accounting for International Development. That's the nonprofit based in the UK that I partnered with, that sent me to Nepal and to Cambodia, where I worked with local on the ground NGOs in each country. So AFID, those are 4 very, very good initials that you can definitely Google and go get lost in a rabbit hole there. But as far as data analytics goes, we do have at CPA-BC, we do have a separate data analytics department. We do analytics on our own as far as benchmarking, key items that we are trying, key targets that we're trying to hit every month or every year. Conversely, other key targets that we're trying not to hit every month or every year. So as far as data analytics goes, I think that is the way that accounting is trending, especially for large organizations where they can gather huge pools of user data or member data in our situation. But as far as a day-to-day basis goes, not too heavy into data analytics for me personally.
Yes, we do have our own data analytics team, so that's kind of exciting. But yes, the future of work in accounting especially is definitely going digital. So you want to make sure that you're acquiring those skills and keeping up with them even after you become a CPA. So we are getting very close to time here, so I'm going to start wrapping up. But I did want to just thank you so much, Robin, for being here with us today. And for sharing your story and taking some time to answer some of the questions from students and our guests today. We really appreciate it. And it's been nice for me to catch up with you since I don't get to see you very often. And so we also want to thank our attendees for joining us today. We hope you were able to learn a few things that you didn't know about accounting, and in particular, what it's like working in accounting for a non-for-profit organization. I think it's a really good career opportunity for those who are looking for fun opportunities. CPA-BC is a good place to work, as we were mentioning earlier. If you are looking for more information about CPA or accounting, feel free to check out our website or connect with us through social media or email. And we will be also sending out a post-event survey, so make sure to keep your eyes peeled for that. And without further ado, that takes us to the end of our conversation with the CPA today. So thank you again, Robin. Thank you everyone for being here. And I hope everyone enjoys their evening.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.